Okay, sweet. So, just for recording purposes, tell us your first and last name and what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Raushanah Taylor. I'm actually the co-founder and strategic director for Unity and Healing. So,
Mm,
and my other baby, my personal baby, is Raw Essentials, and I'm the owner of that. And I create custom jewelry pieces, body butters, grounding oil, all things good for the skin, but spiritual based. So that's what I do.
perfect, perfect. Give us a little background. Where are you from, and what drew you to create this business that you have now?
Oh, I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. I moved to the DMV area a little over 12 years ago. I moved in high school and sort of just stuck around. So, with that being said, I'm at this point sort of, I wouldn't even say a native. It's just like a second home. It's definitely considered that, if nothing else.
Mm,
The DMV. As far as like what brought me to creating, I feel like I'm one of the people that's I don't I feel like I've always created. It's
mm,
something that I've done as a passion as far back as I can consider. I had very artistically influential people around me growing up.
mm.
Um, my aunt is just like so dope. So she was actually an original dream girl. So she does all things theater, and in Nashville she sang at the Grand Ole Opry. So I went to tons of plays, tons of shows, and
Mm.
seeing like the behind the scenes stuff, like wardrobe and like set stuff. It was just always interesting to me, like the arts in one way or another. And then I played instruments, and my mom's a seamstress, so I've always had random little influences of art around me. Even my brother being a DJ, like music was such an inspirational, influential thing growing up. And still, music gets you through good, bad times. Music is like air, so I've always been a creator, but I'm one of the people who I can say that I leaned against that in my adult years.
Mm.
It was like, get it done, find lean into the systems, set careers and set these aspirations. So I feel like I always did stuff passionately on the side. Like my buddy butter business was truly a passion. It was something that I converted over as a need for myself. I just was using a huge, one of those popular lotions that were, it was great. It was working until it didn't. I feel like I also converted during that time when, you know, I was just being more intuitive with what I'm putting in and on my body. So, it's always been a need of what's personally I need in the moment, but also I've just always curated, oddly enough. It's weird. You know, I don't know. So that's me.
Yeah,
So
it's I find that a lot of our people, I don't want to say people of color, like Black people, where our influences, like our parents and our friends and our surroundings, they push us to set certain goals or go to a certain school or pursue certain interests and careers that um, without really thinking for ourselves might seem great, but it's not really fulfilling. So we end up going to these high tuition schools, and we we go to these jobs that we're just going to pay back our school tuition. You know what I mean? And it doesn't.
maybe,
Yeah,
maybe paying for our tuition, because that was another thing that, um, in my experience, I was like, oh dang, you get all these loans and
yeah, yeah.
to get a job. So yeah,
It's
I,
it's
I I feel like we can't blame our parents. That's something that I also recently was like thinking about, like how, they our parents and generations before us actually leaned into being complacent as
mm,
long as you could survive and get the, American dream aspirations met, as long as you were able to sustain yourself, you didn't have to like what you did for a living. And I
yeah.
feel like that's like one of the biggest tricks that adults didn't tell us. Like most of them actually hate what they do for a living,
It's not fulfilling at all.
not fulfilling. And that was like, oh, I graduated and I'm getting advice and I'm asking questions. And the most common thing I heard was like, get a hobby, work and get a hobby if you want to be
Mm,
fulfilled. And it was just like, damn, these are people who worked really hard at this point in their careers. They're pretty high up. These are like people in like their 60s during the time when I was asking, people in their 50s,
Yeah.
60s. So at this point, they've worked hard, they've accrued a certain prestigious title in the fields that they're respectfully in. But all of them, even the ones who like worked in like law and things that you would think you would have to be passionate in, nursing, was just like, yeah, you should pick up some hobbies though. And it's just like, wow, we
Yeah.
spend so much time working that really that's honesty is what I would have liked. It's just like that's
Yeah.
what I would have liked before getting into so much shit.
And then we get lost within like the daily rat race of wake wash and work. And I was speaking to my grandfather. He did this job at a bakery, and he said once he started, he was young, spry, good looking, and just like one day he looked in the mirror and was old and like was like, what the hell did I do with my life? You know what I mean? So it's like it just stacks up, and you lose yourself within a system that you don't really want to be in for.
Definitely. And that like hit the nail on the head for me because personally, that was like a huge decision for me in this year. It was like something about, I don't know. I spent my 20s in transitioning and working really hard and creating a career for myself, or at least the foundation for a pretty good career. Like I can do this. However, it's just like the pleasure in it. And it's just like, can I really do this for 50 or 40 years, like 30 years? And will I enjoy it? It's just like, and not seeing yourself in these spaces. We have to also acknowledge that a lot of these spaces weren't curated or created with us in mind. So
Absolutely.
it's not easy to simulate. And then you're doing a lot of cold washing and whitewashing and just down dimming your experience just to sustain it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
and for me personally, it's just weighing. I feel like also what occurred in the last year, whew, we've had one, like this
Hmm.
is one for the record books, socially, politically, this pandemic. So it was just like, I don't know. I think also I switched jobs and changed up my full-time career a little bit during the pandemic, which is sort of like dope to have even been able to do. So I appreciate it. But transitioning in the pandemic allowed me to go into an organization and not see the glitz and glamour that you get, pre-COVID, like the experiences, the professional development, the money to grow or at least pretend like they're paying into their employees.
Hmm.
Because transitioning in COVID, I just got the experience, the rawness of this new organization, which does great work essentially, but because it wasn't really created with us at the table, it's still so tone deaf in ways that it's not fulfilling and it won't be fulfilling. And I'm seeing that. Which allowed me to lean into my creative self. It's just like, this is the year. I'm
Yeah.
giving it all that I have. And with the skills that I've accrued through working these jobs and degrees, why not? I'm choosing me and giving it going full throttle. So
That's that's definitely amazing. I think this pandemic has really forced a lot of people to look introspectively and really think about their futures and figure out who they are as individuals, in this crazy world. For example, we've had a lot of people who don't want to go back to these jobs like McDonald's or like, just general labor type jobs. So there's a quote unquote job shortage. And I think it's just people realizing that their time and sweat equity is worth a lot more than what they're paying out.
yeah, times what the emotional aspect
Yeah.
of it. Because Lord knows all these doggone DEI trainings, which were great concepts. I mean, I saw how they were being useful, but to who in the room? Like it's I think there were a lot of struggle that occurred in during this pandemic. Let's not with especially it being mental health awareness month, like
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
last day of it. But I also the symbolism behind being here today, because this is also the anniversary of Black Wall Street,
Yeah.
1921.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, with the pandemic and all of these like societal historical relevance and it, forcing people to think intuitively, like I feel
Hmm.
like there were veils lifted in all of this chaos that's going on. Of course, chaotic as we could anybody could imagine, but the veils that have been lifted forced us to lift. I actually had a conversation with my sister-in-law, and she was talking about how hard she worked to accrue, where she is in her profession and the respect that she receives in her organization. And then, the whole Trumpers, that situation, she lives in the deep South. She in Texas.
Mm,
So in her experience and the veil that lifted for her, just in her hearing her speak about the experience and how, regardless of how hard she worked in this profession, how prestigious her title is and how respected she is amongst her fellows, her colleagues, it didn't matter.
yeah,
Like none of
they
this
still saw her as a Negro.
yeah, it was just like, veils. We're all forcing to see them in one way or another. So I will get the whatever has gone on in 2019 to 2021 at this point. These last 2 years, we can say two at this point, definitely caused an awaken, which I'm excited to see what it is birthed out of this, not just for myself, but for all Black and brown people. So I'm hopeful. Let's say that.
So you officially started your business during the pandemic?
I did. I officially jumped out there and started during the pandemic. Um, like many others did. I thought that was so dope. I don't know if you just kept your eyes out and
Mm,
you even launched something new
I
in the
did.
pandemic.
I did.
So with that being said, everybody's out here literally leaning into themselves. So it's inspirational. So yes, it's scary to jump out during the pandemic. I'm sure you can attest to that a little bit.
Mm,
But because of all the things that are going on, it's just like something still very magical about it and jumping out. So I started officially this month. I had the business launch. It was a virtual launch, but it was attended highly. We had a raffle, people participated. It was a dope. Which sort of launched the new series that I'm doing with Unity and Healing right now. It's demystifying therapy. So what we're doing with that is just providing workshops virtually currently, the world we live in, but hopes of having in-person events next year, speaking that into existence. I'm getting these grant writing skills I have, putting them to paper. So with that being said, yes, starting a business during the pandemic has been interesting, but timing was perfect.
yeah.
So
I think it was a blessing in a sense, you know what I mean? Because it gave you time to like really figure out what you wanted to do with your circumstance.
yeah, that part. Being stuck in one place definitely allows you to think,
Mm,
um, and just curate possibilities, and opportunities that you yourself could be preventing yourself from.
mm,
That's the biggest thing that I've learned, recently is that I truly am my biggest barrier. you know all the voices I get in my head. I'm an air sign, Gemini season, whoop whoop. But so with that being said, the thoughts that linger, I allow them to linger and misconstrue my whatever is physically there. So
mm.
being grounded in the moment is something that I'm constantly focusing on. I have to remind myself to do it. And it's okay, like it's okay that you have to remind yourself, speaking to others out there, that it's just like your mind wanders. No, stop and be present in the moment and allowing myself to do that. Look what I curated. So leaning away from being your inner saboteur is something that is really hard to do, but necessary.
Give us like a detailed breakdown of, I guess, the umbrella and the many different branches under that umbrella. And how do you balance time management and trying to figure out everything at once?
Ooh, time management is a thing. So the umbrella, Raw Essentials is my personal small business, and then the Unity and Healing is the LLC. So it's sort of umbrella underneath of that. So I
Mm,
curate skincare products, which our whole mission is so that we create a space for BIPOC people to heal mentally, physically, and spiritually, emotionally
mm,
through resources and community sharing. So, with that being said, me and my co founder, she's a body positive yoga instructor, and we had just been working together on smaller projects. She assisted with my business launch, and it's just like, wait a minute, this is a thing, just bringing other healers together. So under that umbrella, we're bringing other healers together to then share their services,
mm.
but also provide links to their paid services. So we have a therapy, we have somebody who does Reiki healing, we have another yoga instructor. So it's just a collective of people that we're trying to curate with eventually having our own physical place, speaking that to existence.
Mm.
But yeah, so right now, and under that umbrella, down the road will be a nonprofit. But you mentioned time management because it's a realizing what's on your plate and not overfilling it. I feel like I know for myself, and speaking for many others, we have a tendency to overextend. And I feel like a lot of people of color do, just to put that general, we overextend just so that we are busy. We're putting all of the energy out there. But we also have to be kind to ourselves and realize when we're overextending. And what the stress that causes when you're doing that. So in doing that, I realized that I need to wait on the nonprofit aspect, focus on the LLC, and focus on my small business currently, and see what my 5-year plan is. Essentially, that's what I try and do with all things. Give myself a time frame, and that allows me to better manage my time. It gives me timelines, expectations around these timelines, and I can pretty much track it that way. Life does happen, so um, the control freak in me has a problem with that when it does. However, I feel like that's one of another big learning experience for me in my journey is patience, and that's something that I'm not the best at, but I'm working on. So as far as time management, which is the day-to-day stuff, I have a weekly plan as far as like tasks and projects that have to be completed that week, and I squeeze it in because I'm still working full time for the man. But the
So,
goal.
sorry, when do you like find time for yourself? Like a self health day. Like when it seems like you're balancing a lot of different things. Like, do you ever take time for yourself?
No, yeah, still time for myself all the time, daily.
Mm,
Um, Regardless of how long the day is, I have to steal a moment for myself. And I'm a huge sleeper, so I still make sure that I get to bed.
mm,
So that's one thing that I will do, which is a daily thing. But yeah, I have to still time for myself regardless of how busy the day gets. So if that's from just while moisturizing daily after the shower,
mm.
speaking kindly to myself, being intentional about how I'm going to go about the day, how I need to finish the day, depending on when I'm meditating. But meditating is important to me.
Yeah.
Meditating and prayer. I feel like prayer is something I'm not as um consistent with as I should, but meditating is something that I definitely do daily. And then of course, treating myself to stuff. Yes, Amazon is 2-day delivery. Get you out the way. So that was something that I did, I wasn't as good at first buying myself stuff, but now it's just like sometimes I have to tell myself to chill, but treating myself stuff, like I
Yeah.
treat myself nice. I like flowers and I do that regularly. My partner also does that regularly. He's really great with that. That's one of my love languages. So he'll just pop up with flowers, and that's not necessarily self-care, but that's someone seeing me
Mm,
in the moment, which I consider it self care because I love them flowers. I love flowers. So, yeah, again, stealing time for myself because you're not going to be good at anything that you're doing if you're not good to yourself first.
yeah.
Um, it's just not going to happen. So, stealing time and understanding when I am going to be busy. Like this weekend was ridiculously busy. However, just getting the mindset, getting that go time or like I guess whatever athletes do before games,
Mm,
hyping yourself up for the really busy time, that hype thing. Like, all right, you about to be really busy, but go get it and schedule that time if you need to. So self care is important. I swear by it. Everyone, whatever it means to you, it could be a bath, it could be a glass of wine at the end of the day, it could be watching your favorite show. Do it. You have to be good to yourself in order to be good for the world.
Yes, I could dig that. It seems like your business is community based. You have a lot of people you work with. How do you network? Well, how did you network in order to reach out to, I guess, different people to help combine the business and make it stronger?
Ooh, networking for me, I feel like networking is as easy as looking around into your circle. Luckily, I keep some dope, amazing, creative, artistic, genius, like-minded individuals around me. And early on, I knew this is something that I wanted to do. It was something that I always had the passion of curating and sharing knowledge. I feel like so many people go through experiences thinking like, oh, I don't know this. I don't know who to find somebody who does know this, but it should be more shared. Now I feel like knowledge should be more shared versus common or researched, so with that in mind, it's just like, how why don't we curate a collective of people who share knowledge and resources? So it was just as easy as with that in mind. And then one day I just looked around and was like, wait a minute, look at all these dope people who are right around me. Like, and I essentially reach out to my circle and my network and then their network, so on and so forth. And, social media is also dope for that. You could reach out to people across the world right on an app. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, with social media, utilizing my network and building from my community, it's been so successful that I can't even explain. Right now, the series that I'm doing with Unity in Healing, I reached out to a mutual friend who's a licensed therapist and had been working here in the DMV area for the last several years, and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a workshop on just therapy? Making it more accessible, allowing people that therapy is for everyone, the different types of therapy." And she was like, immediately. It was without a doubt. And she's even in this month's raffle, or this session's raffle, she's raffling off 3 sessions of counseling, and she immediately was like, I'm going to give 3 sessions of counseling,
That's dope.
like, just jumped out here. And I'm like, girl, three
That's
sessions of
dope. That's
counseling?
dope.
Yes. I was like, girl, you're just jumping out here like this. I just again, if you ask the universe, also, if you're doing, I'm a firm believer, if you're doing the work, the universe will match you.
Hmm. Hmm.
So in that way, it was just manifested. And I was like, hey. So I definitely believe leaning into your community. And I understand those who can't, but there are definitely resources like, again, social media is in the possibilities of what you can curate off of social media. So just lean into your resources, but definitely don't downplay the internet and what that can do as far as marketing. And yes, you may have to pay a little bit and invest in a little bit, but do your research and definitely shoot your shot.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. From different references like the Curly Girl Collective, which is a natural hair festival that I believe started in New York in a brownstone. And like you said, the lady who started it, or she just reached out to her friends who were in different professions and used social media to start these parties. And they're like the largest, well, the only largest natural hair movement in the United States, and they're doing a lot of things in like Africa too. And then you got Issa Rae, who used her college friends to help her with her internet series or YouTube series, which led to greater things on HBO and Secure and stuff like that. So I definitely see the hunger within you and your business, and I definitely acknowledge that bringing in good friends and good business partners will help you grow and flourish.
Yes, yes. And that was like a huge thing for me that I also had to work through and learn, because essentially I'm like, I'll just do it myself. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna do it myself,
Mm.
for that's just who I am. But in unlearning that and realizing, no, there's a community out here and these people are dope, and these are people that or people that who know people. It's just like, wait a minute, the resources are out here. You don't got to do it all yourself. And once I learned that, or unlearned, forcing myself to do it all, it's just like, bruh. And then the universe plays its part. It's just like, yes, yes, come
Yeah.
through. So, and again, the skill set, everybody's talented and qualified. It's just like, and don't allow societal means to qualify you either. When you untie yourself to that crap, you're actually, you see how dope you are. Not to
Mm.
mention, if you played the game and have accrued a little something, something, because sis is a therapist, like she had to go to school, she paid the loan, she volunteered time, she
Yeah.
played the game. So, but she's also leaning into her own dopeness, so as long as you're leaning into whatever that looks like for you, it's going to flourish. It's going to be great, but you have to realize that you can lean on people. So
Yeah.
for all the hard-headed people, that one was for you. If you
It
feel
takes a
single,
village.
it truly does. It does.
So, how did you come up with the name for your business?
Ooh, so Raw Essentials. My name is Raushanah. And that was a thing this year as well. I professionally went by Shauna for a while, and I dropped the RAU after undergrad just to do like a when I had my bachelor's in sociology, so it was like a social experiment. I was like, well,
Mm.
let me see if I drop the RAU, if I get more, responses on these applications, and
Yeah.
I did. Like I did. I don't know if that really factored anything or if it was just timing. Who knows? But I professionally went by Shauna, and I just want to be reconnected to all it is that I was doing. So I've switched professionally going by Raushanah. So people are calling me Raushanah in the workplace. And Raushanah is what I allow people to call me. It's Ra, but
Mm.
diction. So, and with that in mind, in naming my business, in wanting, in being connected to all that I do, I was going to play off of that. And Rashana means light of the sky, and it's very much so paying homage to the sun god Ra.
Mm.
If you're into Egyptian mythology. So, with that being said, I played off of that and all that I am, and leaned into all that I am. It's just like my name is Raushanah for a reason. I'm the light. I am the light. I give life, and playing off of that. That's how I birthed my baby, Raw Essentials. And I also paid homage to that in the logo because it's just like I'm totally into all the mythology, Egyptian mythology, Greek mythology, all the mythology. So I was like, yeah, this is what I'm leaning into. Not to mention that my brand is holistic, organic, cruelty-free skincare. Everything's handcrafted, handmade. And so it just birthed itself. It made sense, leaning into my God-given name and leaning into all who I am. My business had to reflect that. So that's Raw Essentials. And Unity and Healing was like a partnership. I have a co-founder, but we're constantly talking about healing. We're talking about therapy and other ways that we're trying to connect with our ancestral lineage and meditating and altars and all this just dope stuff. And we're talking about healing for people of color, specifically people of color,
Mm.
creating spaces for us to come together and curate at festivals and the dope stuff. You see flyers and you're like, oh, where are people of color in this? I'd
Yeah.
love to buy a ticket and go, but this looks very not us, but we're out here. I'm looking at it. I'm interested, so being intentional with creating spaces for us to heal from current, present, past trauma, and just all the issues that Black and brown people carry in the day to day, and generationally. So with that partnership, we're just like unity and healing. It made sense. It felt good, and we ran with it. So
I love that. I love that. There's been light shown on mental health in the Black community recently, because in the past we had to hide our feelings. We didn't really go to therapy either because we were scared or couldn't afford it. And I respect the fact that you're bringing mental health and physical health and spiritual health to the forefront because we really need that. Like we're behind uh, the game in a long way, and we really need that for us.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I feel like we have to be intentional with creating that for us.
Mm.
And I feel like that's that was one of the things that we see cultivated and curated in the last, I'd say the last 5 years, even pre-COVID. And we have people, life coaches and stuff that are also doing work and aiding in this, bringing awareness to at least mental health.
Mm,
So regardless of how, healthy some of our life coaches are, Lord Jesus, people that have popped up the most recent years, but it's at least acknowledging that there is a need for this for Black and brown people. So with that being said, it's just being intentional. We have to do more. And I feel like that's a lot more than, the DEI trainings that these organizations are making us do. And it's great talking about it. That's awesome. But what are we doing to help heal? What are we doing to actually provide resources? What are we doing to actually make it accessible? And not through their lens,
mm,
through our actual lived experiences. And with that in mind, we have to curate it and create it myself, ourselves. And that's that whole I'll fix it myself thing. So there are pros to the whole people who are out here like, I could do it myself. Definitely lead with that, but know that you can lean against that. And there is a community to be cultivated around you. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
and we need a safe space to to commune and stuff like that. We inherently we are a community based village type of people. You know what I mean? And I think in a sense we've lost that as a whole throughout the years of being enslaved and segregated and Jim Crow and all these different type of situations we different type of traumas we've been through. We need to have that community, even if it's what you're doing or going to church or guys just hanging out in a barber shop. We need that community. It feeds us. It feeds our spirit.
yes, yes, definitely. Definitely. And I feel like that's the dopeness. Black people are just so freaking amazing, because we're always able and capable of curating community, and not necessarily intentional, like barbershop conversations and places like that, and community aunties, like, so it's natural for us to curate communities for ourselves, to feel good, to love on each other, to uplift each other. So
So
I feel like we've always been intentional, regardless of the oppression that's being faced, even from slavery when people were being still married, and we're legally owned to people. Wow,
mm,
these people
and
cultivated
separated.
and separated, still
Mm,
maintaining families, still passing down some traditions. It's
mm,
always dope to hear what some people's lived experiences are and what's been passed down traditionally, But with the, again, we've Black people continue to create and cultivate community regardless of the times that they're facing. We're just like that magical. So with that being said, I truly feel like what's being birthed in all of the chaos that's going on, because this is a
mm.
lot of chaos. This one's one for the record books. The what's going to be created is going to be beautiful, and
Yeah,
I'm very hopeful and excited for our future. You know.
yeah, I can definitely agree. We're the most resilient people in America, if not the world. So, um, just like the Phoenix, we always
Yeah.
come back more powerful than our last reincarnation. Um, how do you come up with the different formulas of your products? Because I have your beard balm and I use it every morning after I get out of the shower, and it smells so good and it has my beard so soft and lovely. Like, how do you come up with the different formulas of your products?
It's definitely a lot of trial and error. And for me, I feel like it's mostly because I like to play around with the texture of the products that I'm creating. But again, all of my products are holistic, natural. So I feel great with the base. It's just then utilizing essential oils and, like herbs and flowers to then provide that extra little splash. But yeah, so the beard butter was out of a need, and my partner has, Wesley has a
Moses beard, yeah.
so Moses beard. And during COVID, when barbershops were closed,
Mm,
it was just like more effort had to be put into like trying to tame the woolliness and moisturize it, because it's cold, and washing your face and beard, because beard hair still has to be moisturized, fellas. You have to moisturize your beard, especially if you're living in cold places like the DMV and you're washing your face and then going out to the cold during the day. You have to moisturize your beard. with that being said, he was birthed out of a need. I feel like everything I do is birthed out of a need. Wesley needed some dope stuff for his beard. I was like, I got you, babe. I got you. I have all the stuff that you need. I was already making body butter, so the beard balm just made sense. In knowing that he needed something that was going around his mouth, it was intentional that it also needed to be holistic. It needed to be safe. So it was truly just birth out of a need. The same with all of my products, from the grounding oil, because that was very intentional. Again, I mentioned that I was an air sign earlier, so I'm always like, I'm truly gone with the wind. I'm with whatever's going. But with that being said, there are times I'm just like so caught up in whatever's going on that I have to be very intentional with grounding myself in that current moment. I get so lost and I'm here and I'm there and I'm in past thoughts and forward thinking and I'm thinking on concepts that haven't even developed yet. So the grounding oil is something that I use in the day to day to just take a breath, to be a moment and place my feet, anchor my hips and be present. So out of the birth for me, someone was just like, "Hey, this is dope, man. Can I get it some?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess you're right. This is something that's dope. You can also use it just as a body oil, for people who prefer oils during the summer, versus body butter. I love my butter all year round, but I definitely have heard and understand people who like thinner oil during the summer, something to moisturize but not as thick. And I get that, especially in them sticky places. If you live down south, I can totally get not trying to be sticky. So with that being said, very intentional about the texture, very intentional about the products, and it was truly just curated without the need. Um, Depending on what the product is being created for, I may tweak it and add some special ingredients. All of my ingredients actually include alkaline water, and a little bit of Florida water. So with that, that spiritual grounding, just cleanse moment while you're using it. So the goal was to be intentional during that time, even if it's just moisturizing. You can self-care every day, even if it's just while you're moisturizing. Speak kindly to yourself, be intentional about the day, and moisturize your skin, because our skin is our biggest organ and we can't forget about that. We got to treat it good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what else do we have in store? Do we have like
Ooh.
lotions, I guess shampoos and soaps? Like I want it all.
I'm really excited for what I have up. I'm working on a hair mister, so it's just going to be a moisturizer for like people with locks, because I feel like oftentimes I hear so often how people aren't moisturizing their hair as often as you should do every other day, several times a week, just to hit it with a little mist. But you can actually infuse it with some dope stuff. So I'm working on that. I also am working on a plus size swim line.
Nice.
So for short girls, I mentioned earlier that I have some dope people around me. My mom is a seamstress, but not only is she a seamstress, she can draft patterns, and I found out that that's like a dying trade. I was just researching to see who could I get to make these, and I knew I could get my mom to do it. It's just also my mama, so working with mamas can be hard. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a thing. Like, I was trying to be stubborn, like, I don't know if I want to lean in and have mom all over here. So I did my research and was like, who is out here who can draft patterns? Because I don't have that. I don't have it. So I was like, oh, who's out here? And I reached out to my community, and people were confirming that, oh, that's sort of like really complicated to do, sis. So that sort of curated the business itself, and it's always been there. As a short plus size woman, everything that I've gotten for years had to be altered, especially anything nice, like a graduation dress, or if I'm buying a nice dress for a wedding or something formal, the fit just is never it. Other short, thick girls know. It's just so much fabric. They make clothing for tall plus size women. And again, they slay when they have these items on. But on my 5'2" frame, I'm always swimming. So my mom was always re-altering and low-key recreating items for me as far back as I could think. So I leaned into that and actually got her to curate some really dope stuff. So leaning into that, utilizing my mom's her passion to create my own passion. So I'm more so the designer right now. She's still very much so the seamstress because I don't have the skill set. But I think it's been interesting to see how getting out of my own way allowed me to curate something really dope. So that'll be summer of 2022. But I have some really dope pieces that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So yeah, that'll be for the ladies. So that won't be for the fellas. But
That's
the
amazing.
yeah, I'm really excited. So
Mm. So you found a problem that need to be solved. Like, is that like your life mission? Like, if you find a problem that other people need help with,
yeah,
you gotta solve it. Mm,
it's mostly again, it was birthed out of a need for me. Like
mm,
I want to have some dope jumpsuits that fit me when I buy it. Like I want to have a dope, like elongated piece that actually fits my 5'2" frame. I
mm,
I'd like for my and the fact is I've actually been spoiled because I can buy stuff. I buy stuff all the time and roll up on my mama like, hey, I need this whole dress recut, re-put back together and taken down about 6 inches. And she does it. So I'm very spoiled in the sense that I haven't had to be as uncomfortable as other short, curvy women in this space. But because I've also been blessed, I saw that I can just fill this need. This is something that it's a need. I need it. Other girls need it. Why not get it done? So yeah, it was very much so birthed out of another need for myself, but it's a need for everyone. I'm not the only one who's a short curvy girl, you know? Tons of
that's
them.
that's beautiful. One last question, and then would you mind playing a little game with me called This or That?
Yes, let's go for it. I'm excited.
All right, sweet. The last question is, what should your customers expect when receiving or looking to buy into your products?
What they'll be receiving is just a reminder to love yourself and accept yourself for where you're at that moment. Be
Mm,
kind to yourself, that you're also that big, period. You don't have to wait to wear what you want to wear, be who you want to be. Embrace it and lean into the weird, lean into the awkwardness, lean into the sadness, lean into the happiness, lean
mm.
into the joy, lean into the experience. And that know that I was intentional in what I created and cultivated for you. And I hope it finds you well. And I hope you live well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, this game is called This or That. You can only choose one answer out of the questions that I ask, and the whole world depends on the answer that you give.
Okay. Let's
All
do it.
right. First one is puppies or kittens, and why?
Puppy,
Puppies?
period. I have a little boy that I got during he's my boy. His
Mm,
name is Bobby. He's a Chihuahua Chinese crested. I'm just a dog person. I've only ever met like one cat, maybe two in my life that I really banged with, and one was my grandfather's cat. He died when I was like 10, but he was like 18 when he died.
mm,
But that cat was like the best cat ever. He's truly one of a kind. His name was Heathcliff. Dope. He would come to you when you called him. He cuddled. I never scratched me, and I was a
mm,
child. Children are annoying. And he never was aggressive. Like again, so cats are just a little too finicky, and I don't like that as a whole. So I'm a dog person, period. And plus, I have this whole fur puppy, and he's my life. He's my boy. My boyfriend doesn't like me calling him my boy, but he's my boy. So puppies.
yeah, Heathcliff is definitely a cat name. Like, that's a perfect cat name.
Some old, my grandfather's some old black Mississippi man. He's like Heathcliff. So that was his name. He was dope. Never seen a cat like him ever again. One of
Sweet. Um, Headphones or earbuds?
Ooh, okay. Earbuds only because that's what I've been rocking with lately.
Mm,
But it definitely depends on the situation. And if you're like a real DJ or producer or something, they want the whole cover.
mm.
So again, earbuds because that's what I got right now. But I totally think that depends. Situational.
Okay. Mustard or mayo?
I feel like I need more. Like, what are we using this for? Just in general, mustard or mayo?
Maybe a good sandwich. Like if you were going to make the ultimate sandwich, which would you grab first, the mustard or the mayo?
I guess mayo. Mayo.
Ew, really?
Yeah, you want to hear something even nastier? I used to like Miracle Whip sandwiches growing up. Like,
What?
yeah. Now I won't go near this stuff, but yeah, Miracle Whip sandwiches. Yeah.
Wow. That's a first for me.
That's what I feel like I had to say, man. I was like, I was doing that weird because that's weird. Like, you can't be like, oh, mustard when you were doing that. Like, I did that. So I had to say, man.
I don't think this is what I used to eat growing up, and I don't think anything is like weirder, but like pickled eggs, going to the corner store and grabbing a pickled egg. Like now that I think about it, it was such a weird thing to eat.
It was. That's when I actually skipped. I could do vegetables and stuff pickled, but I'm from Nashville.
Yeah.
There's tons of pickle on meat and stuff. But I was like, why is it just sitting on the counter? So veggies and actual pickles were the only thing that, as far as I went down that road,
Yeah. Two more for you. Hot Pockets or pizza rolls?
Hot Pockets.
Really?
Yeah, I think I went through like a whole phase as like a preteen where Hot Pockets were like life. Yeah.
Yeah, Hot Pockets or something. I always burnt my tongue trying to eat a Hot Pocket.
Yeah, rushing it, right? It's just like it hurts so bad, and you would be burned days. Tongue will hurt for days. But yeah, you still did it. It wasn't like a one-time thing. It was just part of the experience, and you just went for it. So yeah, definitely.
All right, last one. Pancakes or waffles? This is a tough one.
This one is the tough one because both are great. Both are great. Both can have great toppings or things inside of them.
Yeah.
Both can be crispy if the right person is making that pancake,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what it depends on, is if the pancake is crispy or not. But I'm
You
gonna
like
go
crispy pancakes or salt?
like little crisp. You know how you can get the edges crispy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'd be like the little center part is a little crispy. That's great. But because I like the crisp, I'm gonna go with waffles because most of the time waffles are some sort of crispy. So
yeah. I think I'll go with waffles too, because especially like the big soft ones, and they have little pockets for the syrup and the butter to go down, and strawberries or whatever toppings you want to put in. Like those little pockets just does it for me.
Right. Yeah, so waffles. So definitely waffles.
Cool. Well, let the people know where they can find you and how they can buy your products, or maybe join the mental and spiritual health movement.
Yes. Okay, so Unity Healing is on Instagram. We're working on the website. We're going to have that launched soon. So follow Unity and Healing on Instagram. And as far as Raushanah Essentials, I'm also on Instagram. That's Shop Raw Essentials. You can find me on my website as well, rawessentials.org. Lord Jesus. Tongue twister. So with that being said, I'll be also share the text with you because I got tongue twisted around that. So.
That's cool.
We're on Facebook as well, so shop with us. I definitely look forward to seeing you guys, getting you guys some good stuff in the mail. So that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Thank you again, and happy belated birthday. I've seen those amazing pictures of you and your sister living your best lives.
Yes, we went to Jamaica and it was like perfect. It was amazing. It truly was. Yeah, so self-care. I stole that. I definitely had stuff that I could be doing, but I'm like, no, this year, because COVID stole last year. And so I was like, this year we're doing something. So yeah.
We outside.
So great trip. I'm back here and I'm busy. So with that being said, it was truly necessary and a great time. Thanks, Phil.
Cool. Thank you. We'll let you know when this airs, and hopefully we get to kick it pretty soon.
Yay, definitely. And I definitely will provide more photos and stuff, the stuff that you need. So just follow up via email. I'll follow up via email with all the attachment stuff. So perfect. It sounds great. Thanks
Cool.
again for having me.
No problem.
All
All right.
right. I'll speak to you later.
Peace.